watching the East West Football Network. Welcome to Inside the Franchise. I hope you guys enjoyed the Coach's Corner, but we have a special Wednesday edition of Inside the Franchise. I got Parker Hall with me. Parker, say hi. I got Abe. Abe,
What up, everyone?
the Packers, the Packers Nation, and of course our very own uh Raiders. Right, Raiders. I don't know.
Can you see it right there?
I
Raiders fan, ambassador, whatever you want to call me.
was gonna say I was about to say Raiders ambassador Fidel Barraza, also the host of the East West Football Podcast. So joining in, and let's go ahead and get right into it, man. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about first off we're gonna start off with the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, and then we're gonna move on to the New England Patriots. We were hoping to have Kendall on, but Kendall will join us on the next one. So let's step right into it. We're gonna take a look at the 2020 season. In a nutshell, Cardinals, man, they finished 8-8. That was third in a very tough division. Can we say it's tough, guys?
Very tough division.
One of the hardest divisions in pro football.
Probably number one.
That's the NFC West, yeah, and it's one of the most entertaining as well. They came up short, man. They lost the tiebreaker to the Bears, and therefore they weren't able to get into the playoffs. But let's look at some highlights real quick. So they placed sixth in total offense. The strength was actually in the rushing game, right, which is very very unique. They finished 13th in total defense. So and the strength there was the actual the passing defense. So when you look at the overall Arizona Cardinals, I mean, this is an ascending team. So Parker, you follow these Cardinals more than anyone. So I want you to just sum it up. What did you take away from the 2020 season?
Yeah, I mean, youth and promise, I think, was a big thing. I think they got some great pieces in place, coaching staff, Cliff Kingsbury, Vance Joseph, the rest of the crew. I mean, they're doing what they do, and it's turning like it's going to look good. And I mean, hopefully another good draft here this year, and we'll be back in the playoffs. I think there's potential with the other teams and the way their off seasons have gone in the NFC West. I think there is potential we could be number one. I mean, obviously, it all depends on San Francisco and their quarterback situation, LA, and I mean, their casualties, I guess, is what we'll call it. Seattle and their lack of O-line. I mean, it's an interesting division.
Hey, the Rams have a new quarterback too. So
Matt Stafford.
Let's keep that one in mind, right?
But I'm going to give I'm not going to say future Hall of Famer, but number one overall draft pick. He's been a Pro Bowler his whole career. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be just fine this year.
I'd say it's safe to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what'd you take away from their season?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, an ascending relationship with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. You look at a lot of NFL teams that nucleus is ultimately the head coach and the quarterback. Once you get those figured out, you can become a winning franchise. They absolutely have that in Kyler Murray with Cliff Kingsbury. It's a really tough division. You actually could say they got lucky because in 2020 the 49ers were very banged up. They would have been the last team if the 49ers were healthy, fourth in that division. If the Rams, if Matthew Stafford pays off as an upgrade over Jared Goff, then they could take a step forward. Although the Rams did mortgage their future by giving up a lot of picks. But I would say for 2020, the Rams probably upgraded, especially with that quarterback. It's a very tough division. Defensively, they're middle of the pack, but offensively, they showed some explosion. They just got to be able to consistently score points on offense with Kyler Murray and kind of get through the growing pains of his development.
Fidel, what you think, man?
Man, look, they started off great. They beat the Niners week 1. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, that was a big win for the Cardinals last offseason. But it ended very disappointed. It was a disappointing ending for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, obviously, Kyler was hurt. He wasn't himself. You can see that. But everything was lined up for the Arizona Cardinals to make the playoffs. And for them not to do it against a backup quarterback and C.J. Beathard and the Niners with a lot of injuries, I guess you can say IR team of the year last year, the Niners, which you should have beat. I mean, to me, it's pretty disappointing, but a lot of high hopes going into the new season. Obviously, we've seen them very active in free agency, and we'll see what they do in the draft.
Man, I'll tell you this. My biggest takeaway is they got their franchise quarterback. Kyler Murray looks special, man. I'll tell you this much right now. With Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, man, that is going to be the division to watch for the next couple of years. So let's talk about their 2021 offseason moves. I mean, this is we're talking about free agency and whatnot. I think we have to kind of give them a little bit of a props here as far as staying active. So let's turn it over to Parker. Parker, you want to name some of these names they brought in?
Yeah, so obviously the biggest name is J.J. Watt coming in. I mean, that's fantastic. They really needed some extra help in the front seven, so that's great. A.J. Green's Pro Bowler receiver who's been a bit banged up, but I mean, he should come in, and if he's healthy, I think he'll be productive. Brian Winters and Rodney Hudson on the offensive line will probably come in and be two starters. Who else we got? There's been not as many names as the Patriots, but there's so many names that I'm just blanking on a few right now too.
It's all good. James Conner, J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, Rodney Hudson, Malcolm Butler, Sean Williams, Brian Winters. They even brought in a kicker, Matt Prater.
Yeah. So, I mean, like Matt Prater, obviously one of the best kickers in the league.
Yes.
Malcolm Butler, everyone knows who he is. James Conner signed yesterday. It is what it is there. I'll give thoughts on that maybe later. Yeah, Sean Williams, I think, coming from Cincinnati, it's fine safety that will give us some extra depth there and a veteran presence. So, yeah, a lot of
great. Their off season as far as bringing in these free agents and trades. Grade it. Give us a grade.
I'd say probably an A-.
Oh, nice. I think
the talent's really good. Yeah. The talent. Sorry, the talent's really good. It's just a lot of these guys have been banged up before and injury issues. So high risk, high reward, I think. But when these guys are on the field and they're playing at their highest point, I mean, definitely could be a Super Bowl team.
Nice, well said, Abe. What about the players they lost? You want to name some of those names that they lost in the offseason?
Yeah, Patrick Peterson, Hassan Reddick in the middle of that defense, and Kenyon Drake. So, last year they got Kenyon Drake. They were able to get a running back to finally give them something in the running game. They lost him to the Raiders, so now James Conner is going to take that first and second down role with Chase Edmonds on the third down role. It is a downgrade in the running game. I think they will be worse off in the running game because of losing Kenyon Drake. Hassan Reddick, a really nice player in the middle of the defense. They're going to lose him. Isaiah Simmons is a similar type player that could take over there, but he still is young. He's got some experience to build up there. And Patrick Peterson, the veteran corner they lost, what hasn't quite been the shutdown corner he was in the past, but it's still a loss in a young secondary. Guys like Byron Murphy and the slot are good, but ultimately when you put a lot on young corners' plates, it's very challenging, especially in this league with all the great passing games and stuff. So having a veteran guy to take over for Patrick Peterson is going to be big, especially, I mean, you're facing, Russell Wilson and all those offenses, tough division. So, yeah.
So, Fidel, so tell me, what does Rodney Hudson bring to the Cardinals? I know you know this very well.
Look, he's the best hitter in football to me. Leadership. He's very reliable. He hasn't missed very many games. He's just his experience. I mean, think about it. Before he was the Raiders, he was with the Chiefs, and now obviously he got traded with the Cardinals. That was one of the best players the Raiders had on offense. He was the main stable to the offensive line when they were successful. Obviously, they're going to miss his presence, and I wish nothing but good luck to Rodney Hudson in Arizona.
So, with that said, great their offseason.
I would give it a B. Close to an A, but they knew that Seattle was going to get better next season. They knew the Niners were going to get better next season. They saw the Rams did what they did already. They're going to be better next year. So they knew that they had to make the moves to kind of, keep pace with all these teams in this tough division.
I think just to add on there too, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald has also left the team. Obviously, the franchise player for the longest time. Whether or not he's going to come back is still up in the air. I mean, there's talks about it, but it seems like Arizona's completely moved on. and I expect him to retire, but who knows what's going to happen there. If he does come back, that's just another piece to have for an extra year.
Man, what a ultimate pro, man. I'll tell you that much about that
Larry Legend.
Yeah.
Speaking
So
of
look,
reliable, that's Larry
yeah,
Fitzgerald too.
yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk right now. I mean, we're literally 15 days away from the NFL draft. But the Arizona Cardinals are in a tough situation here, man. They only have 5 draft picks. They have a first, a second, a fifth, and 2 seventh rounders. Some of the needs still, like I think everybody kind of alluded it to, is cornerback, a defensive back that you can pair opposite of Byron Murphy, right? Because Byron Murphy looks like he's an ascending player right now. I know he's not perfect and he still needs to work on some things. Cornerback is notable right now. And of course, I think that you need to get a running game. So whether it be I think Parker, you said, what was it? A running back by committee?
Yeah. I think Chase Edmonds is trending upwards. A lot of people think he's a little light to be an every down back, which is probably a fair assessment. So I think you bring James Conner in, and he's a bit of a power runner. Eno Benjamin, who we drafted last year on day 3, he's did well at Arizona State. So I think they go running back by committee this year, unless they get a guy early in the first, maybe Travis Etienne. But I do think corner is more important here.
So let me give you a great scenario here. So let's say they trade back and try to get maybe a 4th rounder or whatnot. Should they do that and take a chance, or should they stay put? And if they stay put, who do you think they should select right there at pick 16?
Yeah, they could trade back, and accumulate more middle round picks for sure. Still, hopefully keeping a first round pick, like a 20 to 30 range. If they do stay put, I really hope it's JC Horn. If Surtan's there, I would hope him before JC Horn, but I don't think he's going to be there. And then there's Caleb Farley, who is great as well, but the back issues kind of scare me away right now.
Hey, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, if they can get a JC Horn, that's going to be their biggest priority. Again, elite offenses, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, George Kittle, Ayuk. There's elite passing games. You got to be able to stop it. Whenever you're an elite team like on offense, like Arizona, Kyler Murray's probably going to win an MVP next couple of years. I think the offense will take off whenever that happens. You got to be able to defend the pass. You don't want to be a soft team going against these big passing games. So anytime you can have attitude, add some attitude. The number one corner to
Well
kind of
said.
take over for Patrick Peterson, pair him up with Byron Murphy. I think that's the ideal. If not, maybe a guy on the D line, a Christian Barmore that can be a run stopper, along with JJ Watt on that 4-3 end. So I think just an impact guy on defense is what I would look for in the first round.
So Fidel, let me ask you this: if they're able to land, let's say 2 starters, one on offense, or offense, defense. What would you say their 2021 offseason prediction? What would be your prediction for the 2021 offseason with all these additions and maybe 2 starters in the draft?
Well, they would have had a great offseason if they get 2 starters out of this draft, and they'll be up par to, win the division next year. But going into the draft, you have to realize that all these offenses that you're facing, they're high powered. They have great wide receivers. They have some really good tight ends. So to me, losing Patrick Peterson was crucial, and you need to replace him with the defensive back in this year's draft.
So if they're able to replace them, what do you think? What do you think? Give me a record, playoffs. What do you think? I know it's early. The schedule's not out, but we're just.
So they added an additional game. So I would say that they would go 11-6.
Wow. Parker, I'm going to ask you the same question, but yours is going to be last because you're the Cardinal fan. Hey, give me your prediction.
I'll go 9-8. I think with you lose Patrick Peterson, you lose a Hassan Reddick, Kenyon Drake in the backfield, and then a guy like AJ Green, can he stay healthy? Just a little bit of risk there. I would say a 9-8 record, and the 49ers are going to be back, so it's going to be even tougher division. And if the Rams get the upgrade with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, they could be even better also. So it's no fun to be in the NFC West.
Parker, let us have it, man.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone stays healthy, probably I think like a 12-5. If everyone's injured, it could probably go as bad as a 6 and whatever it is now, 6-10, I think.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's interesting for sure. But what Fidel and Abe have been saying too, right? High-powered offenses in this division. I feel like everything that Arizona's done has been to stop San Francisco. You get Isaiah Simmons to come shut down Kittle, hopefully, bolster the offensive line to mitigate their defensive line. Our now defensive line with J.J. Watt is to shut down that running game. You just need the corners to shut down some of those great San Francisco wide receivers. So, going to be interesting for sure. That whole division is just crazy.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they stay healthy, my prediction is they make the playoffs. I think that they still have Chandler Jones playing at a very high level still at this age, and if he can stay healthy, which that's been his knock the last couple of years. He almost broke the sack record. What was it, 2 seasons ago?
Yep.
So I mean, like you said, I think that having Kyler Murray and being able to bring in this free agency class, and then of course you add maybe like you said a Caleb Farley or a J.C. Horn, and then maybe address either offensive line or defensive line in the second round, and you get two starters. Man, watch out! I think these Cardinals are gonna be red hot. So let's move along, man. We're talking about Kendall's New England Patriots, man. Whew, what a season for the Patriots, man. They finished 7-9, right? That's crazy because we all thought that they were tanking for Tua at the beginning. They finished third place in the AFC East. When you look at it, they had a league high 8 players opting out, and they were very very key players, right? That contribute at a high level on the defense. More importantly, so when you look at it, the Patriots finished 27th in offense. That's total. But the rushing game was still very very potent rushing game. They actually placed fourth in the entire league in rushing. Their they finished 15th in total defense. The strength was in the pass defense. They finished eighth in the league with that. When you look at it, um, we saw what Cam Newton. I mean, we know who Cam Newton is. We saw how Cam Newton. It looked like at moments he had his moments where he looked very good, and at one point, it looked like he was about to turn the corner, and then, he got struck by that COVID situation, and after that, it looked like he had a hard time getting his wheels back under him. But I mean, when we stop, we look at it. Abe, what did you take away from the 2020 season? Uh, Fire away.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I thought it was an experiment year with Cam. I mean,
Okay.
you had
Well
the
said.
we had the shortened offseason 2020. Brady obviously went to the Buccaneers. They were scrambling there for a quarterback. They didn't know if they were going to get Stafford, sign a guy, draft a guy, whether Stidham was ready to finally start. But it was an experimental year. They saw what Cam could do. Early on, I think it was a bit of a struggle. Later, they got a lot of momentum actually in the offense. After his bout with COVID, they actually got better down the stretch, which actually speaks to the long-term viability, I think. A guy like Belichick, the coaching staff, they're extremely smart. They know where to put their guys. Whenever you have that upward trend later in the season, that's usually a good thing. That means you're getting more used to your players. You're getting to know your personnel better. I mean, they had a lot of guys out. Donta Hightower, right in the middle of that defense. That's a key piece for the Belichick defense. A strong safety, Patrick Chung. A lot of new faces. A lot of guys would say a 500 record was actually pretty good for the guys they had. And I would actually agree with that. But I would say overall it was a disappointing year. It wasn't what they were used to over in Foxborough. But I would say in the future, you're going to get the coaching staff more used to these players. You got the 2 tight end set in free agency. They got a lot of guys in free agency. I would say they're definitely going to be better. I mean, it's too well of a coach team now to improve.
Parker, what'd you take away from 2020?
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest takeaway, I mean, you could see where they were going with Cam Newton, and how I think it's going to continue is Bill's going to bring back and Josh McDaniels, they're going to bring back this old school while everyone else is going to spread offenses and nickel defenses. They're going to pound the ball and heavy formations, heavy sets, fullbacks, 2 tight ends. You see that with their offseason this year, bringing back Cam Newton, who can power run it for you if you need to, re-signing James White, the 2 tight ends that they brought in. I mean, it's going to be a heavy offense, I think, with lots of play action involved we think it's going to be Cam starting quarterback at this point.
So, Fidel, let's just jump right into 2021 offseason, man. I mean, talk about one of the most active teams in the entire NFL. I mean, they spent that money, man. They just made it rain. So let's talk about it. Look, they brought in, these are the names: Hunter Henry from the Chargers, tight end, right? Tight end,
Johnny Smith.
Jono Smith, sorry, Nelson Aguilar. He was with your Raiders last year, and they brought in Matt Judon, Kendrick Bourne from the 49ers. Oh, they re-signed Cam Newton, brought back James White, brought back Kyle Van Noy, and re-signed David Andrews, which is a key piece as far as the offensive line. So, I mean, overall, when we look at this actual offseason, the 2021 offseason, go ahead and grade their offseason.
Well, first, I'm going to quote the movie Tobey Maguire when it says, "Show me the money," because that's what the New England Patriots did this offseason. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. They won the offseason so far. In free agency, I give them the A. They obviously saw that they had a lot of things to fix, a lot of issues, especially at the tight end position, because we know Cam, he can throw, but he can't throw too deep. So they addressed that by signing 2 great tight ends, and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And then speaking of the wideout position, Nelson Aguilar, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders, he had a tremendous year last year. They showed him the money, and that was a New England Patriot. They just addressed a lot of needs that they had. So to me, I'm going to give them an A.
Wow, that's great. So Parker, give me a grade for these moves, these 2021 offseason moves.
Yeah, I'd say probably a B. Sorry if I missed it. I don't think you said Trent Brown.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They brought back Trent Brown. Yeah.
I don't mention his name. I'm sorry. I don't mention his name.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure Fidel is stoked about that one, but yeah.
He's dead to Fidel.
but yeah. I mean, like a B, I think is good. Trent Brown's great. I think they should have probably paid Joe Thuney. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Aguilar, I mean, and Kendrick Bourne, even 2 deep threat receivers that should give some, I don't know, something better than N'Keal Harry, whatever he was giving. And Gunnar Olszewski, or I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Gunnar Olszewski, I believe.
Olszewski?
Man, if Kendo was here, he would have told us exactly the proper pronunciation. But no, yeah.
And then, I mean, on top of that, Matt Judon's obviously proved himself in this league. Devin Gauchow is great. Kyle Van Noy bringing him back. I don't really have any problems with this. I mean, the biggest question mark, I think, would be if Hunter Henry can stay healthy. I think that's the big one. It's kind of like a Gronk scenario too, right? 2 very talented, but, I mean, Gronk obviously was on the field for most of the time, but when he was off, I think that offense really took a hit.
And I think that signing when Jonnu Smith, they took that in mind as well. Or I don't recall what tight end was signed first, but they knew they had to get 2 of them just in case one of them wasn't available.
Not that I want to bring up Aaron Hernandez, but I mean, it gives me that vibe, right? You got the flex guy out wide in Jonnu Smith, and then the inline guy in Hunter Henry. It's going to be interesting.
No, yeah, for sure. Hey, what's your grade on their offseason?
Yeah, I would give them an A. I really like what they did. You bring back Kyle Van Noy who's really familiar with that defensive system. It's a complex system, so anytime you get veteran players that have been there, that's an upgrade. They're going to get Hightower and Chung back, which is obviously great. Unfortunately, they are losing Julian Edelman, which is a big loss, especially with a team that needs weapons badly. But I really do like the 2 tight ends. If you look at the 2015 season, Cam had his MVP year in Carolina. Greg Olson was a major part of that. And I think anytime you put more tight ends on the field, you're kind of simplifying it for the quarterback because the game doesn't move as fast. You're getting bigger guys on the field, which makes easier throws for Cam. He doesn't have to, fit the ball in here because there's, here and whatnot. And it also gives them a strength in the running game where, You got 2 blockers on the edge. You can block for Cam Newton in the running game. Damian Harris is also a really efficient back. So it just gives them options. It also means that Cam Newton doesn't, to be an elite passer, just a guy that can find matchups, that can run when he wants to, and have security blankets and 2 big tight ends and Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. So I give him a net.
That's awesome. So real quick, so I will tell you this: Kendall is what I guess what would be a good name? The police, the correction police, right? So Patrick Chung did announce his retirement, and here's Kendall to confirm. But he did say good stuff, Abe. So he really enjoyed that. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. They're picking 15th right now. Before re-signing Cam Newton, obviously everybody agreed top needs was quarterback. Uh, honestly, personally, with talking with Kendall has been back and forth with quarterback and wide receiver, but we still want to put wide receiver on that list, and they just need to shore up that defensive line. They're missing that Vince Wilfork, so to say. So, hey, give me who do you think is if should they stay put at 15? If they do, what should they do, or do you believe they should be aggressive and go after one of these quarterbacks?
Yeah, well, I think ultimately, they need a long-term quarterback. I think Belichick, he will be aggressive and take his chance when he sees fit. I think, they signed a lot of guys in free agency. They filled a lot of holes, which ultimately means you don't have to get guys that you need. Ultimately, you can use your draft picks as trade chips. You can be aggressive. You can take a home run swing on a pick. You can move up. They're at 15. If you get to, let's say, 12, you can get a Micah Parsons, an elite linebacker. A guy that can cover all over the field. You see a guy like Devin White, what he did, very similar bold linebacker, a guy that could just fly. I mean, he's equally as fast as the running backs in this league. If they wanted to trade back, which I doubt which they could do just for depth and things, but I doubt it because I think you sign a lot of guys, you fill a lot of holes. Ultimately, you're getting ready to take some chances. If they want to get their quarterback, that'll also be big of the long term. Cam Newton's more of a bridge quarterback. I think they, next year it's not as good as the quarterback class. They want to get him now. You can have him sit under Cam and kind of not have as much pressure and kind of build the rest of the roster. It's kind of a transitioning team with the free agents. So I would say a rookie quarterback's probably not the best to start this year. You have him sit after a year, and then take the reins after that.
Now, Kendall, if you're still watching, which I know you are, can you please fact check how many draft picks they have in this year's draft? Moving along, Parker, I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think? Should they stay put at 15, or should they be aggressive and go after a quarterback?
I think they stay put and roll with Cam for a year.
Okay.
I still think Cam's got a lot left in the tank. He was just not utilized properly at kind of after the MVP and Super Bowl year. So I think they stay there. Kendall just said that they have 10 draft picks.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, Kendall.
And Kendall said earlier, too, he thinks they go Parsons. I think Parsons, if he's there, I agree with that. This defense, New England, is based all around being multiple and lining up anyone, being almost positionless. So I like Parsons there. He can play outside. He can come off the edge. He can play off ball. He can cover. And I think Bill Belichick and the Patriot way is going to be the place where a guy with character concerns does all right for a career. Other than that, I think another guy who's kind of multiple, Javon Holland, the Canadian from the University of Oregon, who replaces Pat Chung, another Oregon Duck, at the safety position because they don't play totally the same. I mean, Patrick Chung did play in the box more often and play as a dime backer. I think they got Kyle Duggar there in last year's draft or the year before that will fill that spot. But Devin McCourty is old. Holland, he plays in the box. He can play nickel. He can cover high, be a single high guy if you need him to. So he's flexible. He can play some corner. I think he might be a good fit for the Patriots defense.
At 15, though?
At 15, yeah. I think a
Wow.
lot of people are sleeping on Javon Holland.
No, they are. I totally agree. I think that I've seen people give him mid to late second round. I even saw one guy saying third round, but no. From what I've seen, the guy's an ultimate playmaker. So let's take a look at Kendall's picks here. He says Parsons or Mac Jones at pick 15.
Jones will be gone at 3, Kendall. Sorry.
Hey,
And
not
he
so
also
fast, my friend.
he also
No,
said
think
I
so?
could see he says I could see us taking Waddle if the quarterback isn't there. So Jalen Waddle, hey, that's a very strong possibility. And with Jalen Waddle, what we've seen is that young man, he took advantage of every opportunity he got, whether it was in the slot or a little small little dip, a little small little dink and dunk. And man, he took it to the house. He's just a special, unique talent. I know he finished off with a bum ankle, but I'm pretty sure if I mean if we look at it, yes, Cam will have the weapons at tight end to be the Cam that he's used to. But can you imagine him dinking it off to Jalen Waddle and just Jalen Waddle just breaking it? But let's go. Let's move on to you, Fidel. What do you think, man? I mean, picking 15th. I mean, what do you think? Should they stay put? Should they go for the quarterback of the future?
So
Should they be aggressive, trade up if they have to? Maybe
I,
pick 10, pick 9.
Jerry, to me, I think they have to be aggressive, and here's the reason why. The New York Jets are going to have Zach Wilson.
Yes, they are.
The Buffalo Bills are going to. They already have Josh Allen.
Yes, they do.
Right. So I mean, Miami, Tua. I mean, the question mark still kind of there, I guess you could say, but they have a really good team. My point is, the whole division has a young quarterback besides you. I mean, you did a lot of offseason moves this year. So do you really think that you're going to be in the same position next year, drafting wise? Because I mean, historically, the Patriots have picked really late. So I mean, how often are you going to be, in the top 20 to draft a quarterback? What I think it might happen, I think Mac Jones might fall. And I know a lot of people are slated. I myself said Mac Jones is going to be the pick at 3 for the Niners, but the more I hear, the more I listen, it's not going to be that. It's going to be Justin Fields from everything I'm reading. We're hoping to get our good friend Matt Mayoko back on the podcast before the draft. But I think that's going to happen, Jerry. I think Mac is going to fall a little bit, and the Patriots are going to see that, and they're going to trade up and they're going to draft him. If not him, another quarterback.
I like the boldness. And I'm with you. I've been seeing, I believe today. So today, just to kind of recap, today Ohio State had a non-broadcasted they had a non-broadcasted workout day at Ohio State, and yes, you had the John Lynch, you had Cal Shanahan, and you had the QB coach all in attendance, and he was just, I mean, dropping dimes all over the place. So I mean, when you look at it, it's looking like maybe perhaps they just it looks like Kyle Shanahan just let that spread like a wildfire. But and there's a lot of pieces in puzzle that people don't know. So Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, who else? Oh my goodness, another head coach. But anyways, they actually have a QB school in the off season, and wh- whoever goes to register on that website, the poster boy on there is Justin Fields, and Justin Fields did attend Cal Shanahan's QB school when he was in high school, and he absolutely loved Cal Shanahan absolutely loved Justin Fields. So that's something that people did not know, and that has been coming to light as of late. So the more we're looking at it, Justin Fields will get his proper draft position, right? Because he should be up there with uh with Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. I think that, I mean, almost it's like, I mean, it's just like 1A, 1B, and
Yeah.
almost a second.
And Jerry Lick, I mean, obviously, Coach Belichick is 69 years old. Who knows how many more years he's going to draft? Who's going to be the next head coach? Is it going to be Josh McDaniels? Does anyone want to set Josh McDaniels up for success? I mean, that's my other thing too.
It's a great point. I think when we spoke to
Spike King
Ian
or
O'Connor,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he said it well. I think he said that they're getting things in place for Josh McDaniels and Bill Parcells' sons to take over as coaches. In fact, he's already brought them on to the coaching staff as well. So Kendall has a question real quick. Jerry, what's your take on Nico Collins, wide receiver out of Michigan? I could see us taking him in the later rounds. Real quick, I want to hear Parker's take on it. But my take is Nico is extremely talented, exactly what you're looking for in your ex wide receiver. You know what I mean? That the big fast guy. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't know if he's at that DK Metcalf yet, but he definitely ran a great 40 time. He's huge. It was unfortunate didn't let him opt back in this season. We would have loved to have seen it, but I mean, he was just the product of bad quarterback play for Michigan. But overall, I think that this is a player that should go maybe late second to for sure third rounder. That's going to turn a lot of heads, and he's going to be one of those guys that maybe is kind of like an AJ Brown, like wow, what was he drafted in the first round? You know what I mean? So I think he has that potential. Parker?
Yeah, Nico Collins looks really good. Like Jerry said, he's that X receiver. You're going to isolate him, big, fast. Is he going to be your number one guy? I don't think so. But when all the hype at Michigan was around Donovan Peoples-Jones, he really stole the show there. And like Jerry said, bad quarterback play at Michigan, bad scheming by Mr. Harbaugh there. He's got talent for sure, and it's going to be exciting to see what he does at the next level.
And hold on, Kendall says he goes, I see Keel Harry in him a better version. Well, I honestly, Keel Harry didn't run that 40 time that Nico did, but
who's Nicole Harry?
We will not take Canadian slander on here, Fidel. Thank you very much.
I apologize, sir.
Sorry. Hey, what do you have you been able to see Nico? I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say anytime with the Patriots, anytime Bill Belichick is thinking about drafting a receiver, you gotta go pause because he's missed on some here. But I would say with their signings, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, I don't think there's going to be as much of an urgency to add a guy, especially with the two tight ends. I think they're going to go with they kind of got a lot of their mold of the offense down, the heavy run game, Damian Harris and Cam Newton. And then the tight ends and the receivers they got. I really don't think receivers, especially that high, is going to be that much of a priority for Bill Belichick. I think he'd rather go with other more cornerstone positions in his mind. So it'd be a good fit. I would say add some juice to the offense and give Cam a big physical, a guy that can consistently win one-on-ones. That you can go to in the red zone. You don't have to just figure it out in the red zone. But I just don't think. I mean, I don't know if Belichick will really want a receiver, especially with his history drafting him. He misses on a ton, so I don't know if you'd want to take a chance there.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear predictions, man. I know it's early, but give me your predictions, right? For the 2021 season. If they're able to they with this free agency class that they brought in, and let's just say they get 3 starters that are helping out and some of these opt-ins are able to play at the same level they were before they opted out. What do you predict their record to be? Or whatever you want to, is it record? Do you see them in the playoffs? Are they back in the swing of
Are you asking me first?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Parker.
Oh, sorry. I would say record-wise.
You don't even have to say record. If you want to say they're back to the Patriots, say they're back to the Patriots.
No, I think they're still middle of the road. To be honest.
Okay. All right, Abe, what you got?
Actually, I'm going with second in the division. I actually think they're going to make a good run for the money for the Bills. I think.
Wow.
I think. Listen, I mean, I'm never counting Belichick out. I mean, I'm never doing that. I think you give him Donta Hightower back. You give him, whoever they draft. J.C. Jackson is a dog. I mean, him and Stephon Gilmore can absolutely take away receivers. And listen, they've never been. I mean, with the Patriots, obviously they've had good offenses with Brady, but I think this is a team that can win other ways. I just think, especially the Bills are also a very young team, very new team. I think they'll be a great team. I think they'll win the division, but I think you give them Belichick another year to figure him out. that kind of thing. Another year to figure out Josh Allen. I think this will be the second best team in the division. I don't think Miami's there yet. I just think, I think Belichick will make Tua look silly every single game, and I just think that'll be too much of a margin for Miami to beat them. The Jets are certainly not ready, but I would say it's the Bills and the Patriots. I would say the Bills, they have the edge, but in a playoff game, I might take Belichick and the Patriots.
Fidel, what you got?
Can I make a bold prediction real quick?
Do it.
I got the New England Patriots winning the AFC East next year.
Oh man, I bet
so,
you just made. Well, speaking of the devil,
oh, it's actually
5.
He forgot one game though, so is it 12-5, 11-6?
Oh yeah, he did. We're all making that mistake right now.
Well, and then let me just back up a little bit. So everything they've done this offseason, I know it's not just the only reason why they did it, but it is to beat Tom next year. Let's not forget about it. Tom Brady left the New England Patriots and he won the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's that. But anywho, I do see the New England Patriots winning the division because they have the best head coach in that division. Last year, obviously, they took a big hit with COVID. A lot of players not playing, injuries. Now, they were playing well. People forget. Before Cam got COVID, he was playing really good. I mean, we saw that close game in Seattle on Sunday Night Football. So, to me, they made the necessary moves to take that next step and win the division. And I think the Buffalo Bills are going to take a back seat to the Patriots next year.
And that is well said. Thank you, Fidel, for that.
One more thing I want to point out is a lot of people forget whenever someone has an MVP like Josh Allen, that doesn't always mean it's going to continue. That level of play is extremely hard to keep up. It happened with Lamar Jackson. Everyone said, in fantasy drafts, take him in the second round. The league, the cycle. You figure out a guy. You expose the weaknesses. Don't forget now. Josh Allen had some pretty big weaknesses coming out of college. Accuracy. You get coaches to have tape on that. He's not going to be the same player. I don't think.
Well, and then also Abe, like one of the needs that the Bills had, and the reason why they lost in the playoffs was running game. It was like Josh Allen was the quarterback and the running back. They haven't addressed that need.
If they're not going to do anything about the running game, you're ultimately putting more pressure on Josh Allen. And I think teams are going to figure him out. I mean, this doesn't happen forever. Even Mahomes in 2019, he didn't have 50 touchdowns. He had 26 touchdowns. So it happens to everybody. He's not going to have the same elite year. You got to do something with the running game. I mean, you don't want Josh Allen he's not a very accurate guy. He's very dynamic, but he's not very accurate. So ultimately it's going to get, you got to make time throws. So you got to give him something.
And to the Patriots, they take a step back, but they take 2 steps forward next year. So,
and those tight ends, I mean, those tight ends to me are much bigger addition than most people realize. Because what it does is give you options. I mean, Cam, he can either throw to those guys, which is security blankets. His completion percentage is going to be much higher. I guarantee his completion percentage is going to be much higher versus the receivers. And you're also getting blockers on the edge. So if he doesn't throw them the ball, you're just getting guys to block for him or noon. And there's also a mismatch because on the read option, you don't know if it's going to be Cam or Jamie taking the ball. So.
And Abe, when he won the MVP also, let's not forget, who was his favorite tight end? It was Greg Olson, the tight end.
That's what I was just going to say. Look what he did with Greg Olson and look what he did without Greg Olson.
Yeah, and make no mistake about it, Cam he's a redemption next year, right? Because of everything that's happened. Not a lot of teams were offering contracts. He came back to New England on a cheap deal to prove a point. And I think he's going to prove it.
And I think all of you all kind of said it very well. My prediction is that the Patriots are going to give the Bills a run for their money. It's going to be Cam's second year in the system, understanding the Patriots way, and he was on I Am Athlete saying that he wanted to be a Patriot again. So anytime that you see that, that means that there is something cooking that we don't see behind the scenes sometimes. And I'll just tell you this much right now. You're getting the firepower you need on you're getting the weapons that you need on offense, and man, they did a good job with trying to rebuild that defense last season. So watch out. I think we're going to see a totally different Patriots team, and I think they're going to be giving they're going to be giving the Bills a run for the money, especially trying to take a stranglehold away from the AFC East division. So wow. Patriots, welcome back to the Welcome back to the party, Patriots.
And I think they could definitely return to that 2019 form on defense. I mean, you get a guy like Kyle Van Noy back. J.C. Jackson he was one of the best corners in the league this year. If they get anywhere similar to that 2019 defense, I mean, watch out because the running game is also going to be really good. So once they play that field pushing game, it's hard to beat a team like New England.
I'm just going to call Bill Tobey Maguire. Show me the money.
Look at dollar
Jerry Maguire.
Oh, Jerry Maguire. Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Hey, well, that does it for Inside the Franchise. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, we're going to be doing this tomorrow because you know what? The draft is literally 15 days away, and we have a bunch more jam-packed shows coming your way. Thank you all for tuning in. Until tomorrow, make sure you tune in.